Hello guys, my name is Prince and this is Smart Center. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos. Post your comments and questions on my social media handles and I'll respond to it.
We are going to learn about approximations today. What are the objectives that we look forward to achieving at the end of this topic? At the end of this topic, you should be able to round a number to the nearest 10, 100, 1000, etc. You should also be able to round a number to the nearest tenth, hundredth, thousandth, etc. You should be able to correct a number to a given decimal place, and you should be able to correct a number to a given significant figure. Let's begin by tackling our first objective: how to round a number to the nearest 10, 100, 1000, etc. How do we do this? The position of a figure in a number is called its place value. For any whole number, the place value of the first figure, counting from right to left, is the units or ones. The second figure is the tens. The third figure is the hundredth. The fourth figure is the thousand, etc. Now, this is what we mean. If you have any number, for example, this number here, 7,857,456, we can see that this number is made up of digits. The digits we have here are 7, 8, 5, 7, 4, 5, 6. Now, the position of each of the digits has a value, and that value is what we call the place value. So it's telling us that if you are counting from left to right, the first digit that you meet, the value or the place value of that digit is ones. So that's why it says the place value of the first digit counting from right to left is the ones or units. So the place value of 6 here is what you call ones or units. The next, which is 5, is tens. The next that continues is hundreds. The next one is thousand. Then 10,000, 100,000, and 1 million. So we can see from here that this is what we are saying. The place value of this first one is 1. The place value of this one is 10. The place value of this is 100, as illustrated in the figure that we have here. So we can see from here that the number that was on the previous slide, 7,857,456, now the place value of 6 is 1 or unit, the place value of 5 is 10, the place value of 4 is 100, the place value of 7 is 1000, that of 5 is 10,000, then that of 8 is 100,000, and that of 7 is million. So how do you round a number to the nearest units, to the nearest tens, to the nearest hundred, to the nearest thousand? Let's take an example and learn how to do that. So let's use the same value that we had on the previous slide. Now we are told to round 7,857,456 to the nearest I, 10, II, 100, III, 1000, IV, 10,000, V, 100,000, VI, million. So let's begin. How do we round this to the nearest 10? Now if you want to round to the nearest 10, what you have to do is to look for the digit whose place value is 10. So we can see that the place value of 6 is 1. So the digit whose place value is 10 is 5. So this is the digit whose place value is 10. Now you look at the number in front of that digit. So here the digit we are talking about is 5. So the number in front of 5 is 6. If that number is more than 5, that is 5 or above, either 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, you are going to add 1 to the digits in question. So here the digit in question is 5. So if that number in front of it is more than 5, in this case is 6, it means that we are going to add 1 to 5 to make it 6. Then we change the 6 to 0. So the digits here at the back of 5 are already going to be there. So we have 7, 8, 5, 6, 4, 6, 0. So you write those numbers. So you have 7, 8, 5, 7, 4. Then we know that the digit in question is 5, and the digit in front of it is 6, which is more than 5. So we add 1 to 5 to make it 6. Then we change the 6 to 0. So when we do this, we say we have rounded this number to the nearest 10. If you want to round to the nearest 100, it's the same thing. Look for the digit whose place value is 100. So here the digit whose place value is 100 is 4. Then you look at the number in front of 4. The number in front of 4 is 5. So it means that you are going to add 1 to 4 to make it 5. The numbers at the back of 4 will already be there. So you write 7, 8, 5, 7. The digit in question is 4. The number in front of it is 5. So we add 1 to 4 to make it 5. So we write that 5. Then the remaining digits will all be 0. So we change 5 to 0 and we change 6 to also to 0. Rounding it to the nearest 1,000 follows the same principle. So the digit in question in the nearest 1,000, the digit whose place value is 1,000 is 7. So you look at the number in front of that digit. In this case, the number in front of it is 4. 4 is less than 5. Now, if that is the case, then you are not going to add 1 to 7. You just write 7, 8, 5, 7. Then, since this one, the number in front of the digit whose place value is 1,000 is less than 5, you are going to change the remaining digits to 0. So here write 7, 8, 5, 7. Then the remaining digits, which are 4, 5, and 6, will all be 0. So 7, 8, 5, 7, 0, 0, 0. We are rounding this to the nearest 10,000. So you look for the digit whose place value is 10,000. The digit whose place value is 10,000 here is 5. The digit in front of it is 7. So we know that 7 is more than is 5 or above, so it qualifies. So what you are going to do is you are going to add 1 to 5. Then the other digits will all be 0. So you write 7, 8. The digit in question is 5. The one in front of it is 7. So you add 1 to it. When you add 1 to it, it becomes 6. Then how many digits are remaining? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we change all of them to 0. So we add the 4 zeros to it. We are rounding this to the nearest 100,000. Look for the digits whose place value is 100,000. That digit is 8. The number in front of it is 5. You know that 5 qualifies as 5 or above. So what you do is you add 1 to 8. When you add 1 to 8, you are going to get 9. Then all the rest will be 0. So 7, 8. But because we are rounding to the nearest 10,000 and the number in front of 8 is 5, we add 1 to 8. We are going to get 9. Then we change 5, 7, 4, 5, 6, all of them to 0. So we are going to add 5 zeros to it. We are running to the nearest million. The digit whose place value is million is 7. The number in front of it is 8. 8 is more than 5. It's 5 or above. So we add 1 to 7 to make it 8. Then the remaining digits will all be 0. So we have 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 as indicated here. Take another example on this and try your hand on it. Let's look at how to approximate a number to the nearest decimal place. Now, what are you talking about? The decimal place in a number comes after the decimal point. The first value after the decimal point is the first decimal place. The second value is the second decimal place. The third value is the third decimal place. Now let's use an example to illustrate what you are talking about here. If you have the number 14.46525, the first value after this is the decimal point. So the first value after the decimal point is what we call the first decimal place. The second is the second decimal place. The third is the third decimal place, and the fourth is the fourth decimal place. So here the question is telling us to correct 14.46525 to 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, 3 decimal places, and here it says that you correct 0.39974 to 1 decimal place, 2 decimal place, 3 decimal places, and 4 decimal places. So you are supposed to correct this one to 2 decimal places, 3 decimal places, 4 decimal places, and 1 decimal place. Let's begin by solving question 1. How do we correct this to 1 decimal place? Now here is the number. So if you are supposed to correct this to 1 decimal place, all that we are concerned about are the numbers after the decimal places. So the number before the decimal place is not of concern to us. So that is going to come. So if you want to correct to the first decimal place, look for the number in place of the first decimal place. So the number just after the decimal point, you have seen that is the number in the first decimal place. You are supposed to correct this number here, 14.4625, to the first decimal place. So you are going to look for that number. The number in the first decimal place position is 4. Then after that, you look at the number in front of it. This time the number in front of it is 6. If that number is 5 or above, add 1 to the number in the position we are talking about. So here the number in the first decimal place position is 4. The number in front of it is 6, which is 5 or above. So we are going to add 1 to 4 here to give us 5. So if you are running this to 1 decimal place, you are going to get 14.5. In this case, you ignore the rest because we are running it to just 1 decimal place. What that means is that we want just 1 decimal after the decimal point. We are supposed to run it to 2 decimal places. So you look for the number in that position. The number in the second decimal place position is 6. Then you look at the number in front of it. In this case, is 2. 2 is less than 5. So it means that you are not going to add 1 to the 6. As I said, the number before the decimal place does not count. You don't care about it. We are running it to decimal places. So here we look at the numbers after the decimal point. So 14.14 will come already. Then you bring our decimal point. We look at the number in the second decimal place. In this case is 6. The number in front of it is 2. It's less than 5. So we ignore the rest. Now you can see from here that we have 2 values after the decimal place. We have 2 digits after the decimal point. We are supposed to run this to the third decimal place. So you look at the number in that position. The number in the position of the third decimal place is 2. The number in front of 2 is 5. So it satisfies our criteria. We know that if the number is 5 or above, what we have to do is to add 1 to the number in question. Here the number in question is 2. So if you are adding 1 to it, you are going to get 3. Now immediately you do that, you ignore the rest. So you are not going to change this to 0 as we did for the hundreds, thousand, and million. So here what it actually means is that we need 3 values after the decimal point, and that is exactly what we have here. Let's move on to the second question. We are supposed to also run this number 0.39974 to the first decimal place. Now we are running this to the first decimal place. As I said, we are not concerned with the number before the decimal point. So here the number before the decimal point is 0. So write that number point. Now we are looking at the number in the position that we are talking about. In this case, the position is the first decimal place, and that number is 3. The number in front of it is 9, which is 5 or above, which is more than 5. So we are going to add 1 to 3 to make it 4. Then we ignore the rest. Now let's move on to the second decimal place. Now we can see from here that the second decimal place is 9. The number in front of it is also 9. Now when we add 1 it means that you are supposed to add 1 to 9, right? Okay, so you are adding 1 to 9. When you add 1 to 9, you are going to get 10. We cannot write 10 in this position, because when you write 10 in this position, what it means is that you are going to get, when you write 10 in that position, what it means that you are going to get 0.310, and we are going to have 3 decimals after the decimal places, which is wrong. So once the number there, here we can see that when you bring this one here, you are going to get 10. When you add it to get 10 here, you do not write the 10. You carry the 1 forward again. So you bring the 1 here and come and add the 1 to the 3 instead. Remember, the number in question that you are talking about is, the number in the place you are talking about here is 9. The number in front of it is also 9, which is more than 5. So we add 1 to the 9 to get 10. When that happens, what you have to do is that you carry the 1 forward again and you add that 1 here to 3 to make it 4. So actually the number here has now changed to 0. Then the number here is now changed to 4. So if you want 2 decimal places, it's going to be 0. This time the 3 becomes 4, and the number here, which used to be 9, is now 0. Let's look at this 3 decimal places. When you are running this to 3 decimal places, maybe this will help and clear things a little bit about the 2 decimal places. When you are running this to 3 decimal places, the number in the position of the 3rd decimal place is 9. The number in front of it is 7, which is more than 5. So what you do is that you add 1 to the 9. But you know, when you add 1 to the 9, you are going to get 10. You cannot write the 10 here, so you carry it forward again. Once you carry the 1 forward, the 9 will change to 0. Then when you carry the 1 forward and you bring it to this position, it's also 9. So that one is also going to be 10. You cannot write that 10 also. So you carry the 1 forward again. So this 9 will become 0. This 9 will also become 0. Now you bring the 1 here, you add it to the 3, and that will give us 4. So we are getting 0.400. We are adding the 00 because we must have 3 values after the decimal point. That's why it said we should run it to 3 decimal places. Now it says that we should run it also to 4 decimal places. So the number in position of the 4th decimal place is 7. The number in front of it is 4, less than 5. So we do not care about that. We ignore that. Then we write our 4 decimal places. We are not going to add it because it is less than 5. And here we can see that we were carrying it forward because when we added the value to it, we are getting 9. We are getting 10. When that happens, you are going to carry the 1 forward and change the number in that position, in this case, which is 9, to 0, as we did for the 2nd decimal place and 3rd decimal place. Now, this is how to solve this, or this is how to round numbers to the nearest decimal place. We can use our calculator as a shortcut in doing this. If you want to round a number to the nearest decimal place with your calculator, it's possible. This is how to do it. So I'm going to bring my calculator here and show you how that is done. What you have to do is to first switch on your calculator. Now press Shift, then press Mode. You will see that you have 1, 2, complex, 3, starts, 4, base, dash, n. That is not what we are talking about. So you take your calculator, you press Shift, then you press Mode. You can see that we have Math 10, line 10, and others. You can see that the 6th option is Fifth. Fifth is the number of decimal places. That is what you want. So you select the 6th option. It's telling you that first 0 to 9. It's asking you how many decimal places do you want to correct your number to. So let's try, let's say 3 decimal places. Now after you've changed that, your calculator is now in 3 decimal places mode. All you need to do is to punch the number that you want to correct and then press enter. So the number you want to correct is in this case 0.399 0.3974, and we are correcting it to 3 decimal place. So we can see from here that in 3 decimal place we are getting 0.400 as we have in the question, as we have solved here. So our calculator is now in 3 decimal place mode. If you want to change it, or if you want to punch another decimal place, all you need to do is to change the number of decimal place. So once again, you press shift, you press mode, then you select option 6. This time let's select 2 decimal places. Then you punch in the number 0.39974. You press equal to, and in 2 decimal places 0.39974 is 0.40 as we have solved here. So try this for the other examples. Remember that after you finish all your calculations, clear your calculator, because if you do not clear it, all the subsequent computations that you do with your calculator, you are going to get your answer in 2 decimal places. So to prevent that, this is how to clear it. Press shift, after that you press 9, then you press 3, and you press equal to. So it will reset your calculator to the normal settings. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you in the next video, where we will learn about how to round numbers to the nearest tenth, hundredth, thousandth. We also learn about how to round numbers to a given significant figure. Bye bye.
We are on the topic approximations, and this is the last video on approximations. Let's begin with
rounding numbers to the nearest tenth, hundredth, thousandth, etc. For any number with a decimal part, the first decimal place is the tenths, the second decimal place is the hundredths, the third decimal place is the thousandths, etc. That is, rounding a number to the nearest tenth is the same as correcting the number to 1 decimal place. Also, rounding a number to the nearest hundredth is the same as correcting the number to 2 decimal places, and so on. So it is that simple. If you are told to round a number to the nearest tenth, all we need to do is to correct the number to 1 decimal place. To the nearest hundredth, correct it to 2 decimal places. To the nearest thousandth, correct it to 3 decimal places. To the nearest 10,000, correct it to 4 decimal places, and the order goes on. So let's take a question. Round 15.289576 to the nearest I, tenth, II, hundredth, III, thousand, IV, 10,000, V, 100,000. So what we actually have to do is to round the number to I, 1 decimal place, II, 2 decimal places, III, 3 decimal places, IV, 4 decimal places, and V, 5 decimal places. So we begin by rounding the number to the nearest tenth, or rounding it to 1 decimal place. We learned that if you are to round a number to a given decimal place, our focus is on the numbers after the decimal place, not the numbers before the decimal place. So here the number before the decimal place, which is 15, will come. So you write 15 point. The number in the position of the first decimal place, or the tenth, is 2. Then we look at the number after 2. The number after 2 is 8. We said that if that number is more than 5, that is 5 or above, we are going to add 1 to the number in question. The number in question here is 2. So if you add 1 to it, you are going to get 3. So when you round this to the nearest tenth, you are going to get 15.3. We are rounding it to the nearest hundredth, which is the same as rounding it to 2 decimal places. So here, if you are rounding it to 2 decimal places, we look at the number in the position of the hundredth, or 2 decimal place. That number is 8. The number after it is 9. Now, because it is 5 or above, we are going to add 1 to the 8 to make it 9. So we have 15.29. We are also running to the nearest thousand, which is the same as with 3 decimal places. The number in that position is 9. You look at the number in front of it. The number in front of it is 5, which means that we are supposed to add 1 to the 9. But just as we saw in the previous video, when we add 1 to the 9, we are going to get 10. When that happens, we are going to carry 1 forward to the next number. So here, when you add 1 to 9, we are going to get 10. You write 0, then you carry the 1 forward and you bring it to 8. When you add that 1 to 8, you are going to get 9. So actually, when you round this to 3 decimal places or to the nearest thousand, you are going to get 15.290, because here becomes 0, you bring the 1 to the 8, you add it to it and becomes 9. So 15.290. Now we are rounding to the nearest 10,000, which is 4 decimal places. So we look at the number in that position. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That number is 5. The number in front of it is 7. So it's 5 or above. We are going to add 1 to the 5. So when you add 1 to the 5, we are going to get 6. After that, you ignore what is left. Then the number, we are rounding it to the nearest 100,000, which in this case will be 5 decimal places. So you count the decimal place: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The number in that position is 7. The number after 7 is 6. It is 5. It qualifies as 5 or above. So you are going to add 1 to the 7 to make it 8. Then you ignore what is left. Remember that in the previous video, we learned how to use our calculator to round numbers to a given decimal place. So I recommend that you use a calculator to try these examples and see, so that you become conversant with it. Let's look at the next thing that you want to consider: approximating decimals to a given significant figure. Now, how are we going to do that? The first non-zero number counting from left to right in a number is the first significant figure in that number. The number after that is the second significant figure. The next is the third significant figure. So this is what we mean when we have a number like this. So let's take this example: 0.008517. We are saying that if you are counting from left to right, so this is the number we are talking about. Now we are counting from left to right. If you are counting from left to right, then the first non-zero number is the first significant figure. That is the first number that you meet, which is not 0. That is the first significant figure. So here, if you are counting from left to right, you see that the first value is 0. After the decimal point, the next one is also 0. The next one is also 0. So all these values are not significant. Now the first significant figure in this value is 8. That is the first non-zero number that we meet. Now, how do we correct this number to one significant figure? Let's look at it. If you are to correct 0.08517 to one significant figure, what you need to do is to locate the first significant figure. The first significant figure is 8. Now, what is the number after that? If the number after it is 5 or above, you are going to add 1 to the number in the position we are talking about. Right now, the number in the position you are talking about is 8. So if you add 1 to 8, you are going to get 9. Then you ignore the rest. So if you are correcting this to the first significant figure, look for the first to one significant figure. Look for the first significant figure in the question. The first significant figure is 8. The number after it is 5. So we add 1 to the 8, then we ignore the rest. Let's take the next question. You are supposed to correct 14.083 to 3 significant figures. So look for the third significant figure. In this case, the third significant figure is going to be this. Now, we are moving from left to right. The first value we encounter is 1. So that will be our first significant figure. Remember, we said the first significant figure is the first non-zero number that you meet when you are counting from left to right. So here, 1 will be our first significant figure. 4 will be our second significant figure. So our third significant figure will become 0. Now, if the 0 was in front of the number, then it's not be significant. But immediately it comes after the first significant figure. 0 now becomes a very significant figure. So our significant figure, third significant figure we are talking about here will be 0. The number in front of 0 is 8. It is 5 or above. So we add 1 to 0, you are going to get 1. So here you have 14.1 as 3 significant figures. So when we come here, you have to correct this to 2 significant figures. So you look for the first non-zero number. The first number is 0, so that is not the first significant figure. Then you look for the second significant figure. So in this number, the first significant figure will be 3. The second significant figure will be 6. The number in front of 6 is 7. So it means that you are going to add 1 to 6 to make it 7. Then you ignore the rest. So 0.37. So you can see from here that in this number, there are only 2 significant figures. In the first one, he said we should correct it to 1 significant figure. So you see in the number, there's only 1 significant figure. When you come to the second one, there are 3 significant figures. And the third one here, there are 2 significant figures. Now, we are supposed to correct the number 398640 to 4 significant figures. We are correcting this number to 4 significant figures. So we look for the 4th significant figure. So in this number here, the first one is 3. So it means that we have our first significant figure from the beginning. So we look for the 4th significant figure. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 4th significant figure in this number is 6. So we look at the number in front of it. Now the number in front of it is 4. It is less than 5. So it means that we are not going to add 1 to the 6. But you can see from here that there are 4 and 0. These 4 and 0, since it is a whole number, you can see from the previous one that the one that we are having, the one that we have already done, we have decimal places in it. But if you have a whole number here, you have to add zeros to make up for the place values that are in the number. So here, even though the 4th significant figure is 6 and the number in front of it is 4, so we are not going to add 1 to it. We write our first 4 significant figures here, but you can see that we already have 4 and 0 here. You use zeros to represent those ones to make up for the place values that were there. Let's take an example for a whole number. We are supposed to correct the number 1457896 to 5 significant figures. So look for the 5th significant figure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this case, the 5th significant figure is 8. The number after that is 9. So you are going to add 1 to the 8. When you add 1 to the 8, you are going to get 9. So we have 1, 4, 5, 7, 9. Now there will be 3 remaining digits. Since it is a whole number, we add 3 zeros to make up for the place values that used to be there. Then we have this number here, 0.0059987. We are supposed to correct this to 2 significant figures. So look for the second significant figure. So counting from left, remember that this is done from left to right, not right to left. So counting from left to right, our first significant figure in this number is going to be 5. Then the second significant figure is going to be 9. That is what we are interested in. So since the second significant figure is 9, we look at the number after 9. That is also 9. So what you do is that you are going to add 1 to 9. When you add 1 to 9, you are going to get 10. We have seen that when that happens, what you have to do is to carry the 1 forward and leave the 9 here as 0. So you carry the 1 forward, you add it to 5, you are going to get 6. Then the 9 that was in the position of the second significant figure becomes 0, as we did for the decimal places. Let's look at another example. You are supposed to correct the number 0.000759964 to 4 significant figures. So you look for the 4th significant figure in this number. So here the 4th significant figure, you know that 7 will be our first significant figure, 5 will be our second significant figure, 9 will be our third significant figure, then the other 9 will also be our 4th significant figure. The number in front of that 9 is 6. It qualifies our criteria of 5 of 5 or above. So what you do is you add 1 to the 9. Now remember, when you add 1 to this 9, you are going to get 10. So when that happens, we have seen that when that happens, then we change this 9 as 0 and we bring the 1 here. Now when you can see that when you bring the 1 here, the number there is also 9. So when you add it to it, you are going to get another 10. So you also write the 0, then you send the 1 again. The number here is 5. So when you add the 1 to it, you are going to get 6. So you have 7. Then the numbers, the preceding numbers are going to come, then 0. So you can see from here that if you are correcting this to 4 significant figures, it's going to be 0.00076. Then the 2 zeros that represent the 9s will be there. So that will be it. Now we also have a way of doing this on the calculator. So I'm going to show you how to do this on your calculator. So you pick your calculators. If you want to use your calculator to find a number to a given significant figure, this is what you are going to do. You press on Shift, then you press on Mode. Remember that when we were doing for the decimal place, we said it was 6, which is the fix. For significant figures, this is 7, which is the psi. So you choose that 7. It's going to ask you psi 0 to 9. It's asking the number of significant figures you want to correct the number to. So in this case, let's say we are correcting it to 5 significant figures. Now let's do that for V, because V said we should correct the number 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 6, 3 to 5 significant figures. So input that number. So 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 6, 3. Then press equal to. So you can see that when you correct 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 6, 3 to 4 significant figures, you are going to get 1.4579 times 10 to the power 7. And that number will be 14579,000 as shown as we solved here. Let's try our hands on another one. Remember that our calculator is now in 5 significant figures mode. We want to change it to 2 significant figures. So you press Shift, you press Mode, then you select 7, which is significant figures. It's asking us psi 0 to 9. How many significant figures do you want? You want 2 significant figures. So let's try that for the question VI. VI is 0.0059987. Now when you press equal to, you see that we are having 6.0 times 10 to the power minus 3, and that is giving us 6.0060 as shown here as the one that we solved. So use your calculator and try your hands on the questions that you solve. You can see that the calculator is also giving us the answers as we solve them. Thank you so much for watching this video and all the other videos. This is the end of the topic approximations.